it's still a strong market. And I suppose the message I have is that because of Brexit and lockdown, there's very much a brain drain at the moment. And the industry is crying out for professionals. I've never seen so many jobs advertised. It's such a candidates market at the moment. People are picking and choosing which jobs they want, and the power is very much in the employee, not the employer. And that's certainly the dynamic shift that's happened since COVID in the UK. I've never seen such companies bending over backwards for candidates, and it's great. It's a really, really exciting time to be in the job market. It's really exciting to be kind of seeing what else is out there. Companies are really getting competitive with benefits, and it's great. It's really nice to see. It's kind of about damn time.
The liquor industry is still struggling to recover from the effects of the harsh liquor lockdown imposed by the government of this country, and many friends and colleagues have lost their livelihoods and may have no option other than to look abroad for opportunities. In this podcast episode, we talk to Victoria Smith, brand manager for top champagne house Piper Heidsieck. Victoria tells us about her new job and kindly gives us some insight into the UK job market. And she also shares some tips on finding employment in the UK. We also talk about trends in the UK wine industry that may be of interest to South African brand owners. Follow our podcast series Sapphirs Abroad to hear more stories from South Africans that have found opportunities overseas. My name is Holger Meyer and this is DrinksWorld. Victoria Smith, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Holger.
And I'm glad that your LinkedIn profile popped up because there was a big announcement on LinkedIn. And what happened?
It was? Yeah. Yes. So I've recently joined a distributor in the UK called Liberty Wines, and I am the brand manager for Piper Heidsieck and Rare Champagne.
Wow, that sounds very impressive.
It does, doesn't it? But it is also, it's just, it's very nice, but it's also just champagne. It's just wine, which is great. It's very exciting.
We first met when you worked in Durban.
That's right.
I think at VDP, one of my favorite distributors.
VDP. Oh, they're great. They really are lovely. I was at VDP for 4 years, I think. Working with Jan and his team. It was one of my favorite positions. It was great. I learned so much there. Working with with Durban's best restaurants and off trade. So Marriott Liquors and Market and Sean and Marcel at 99, which have all moved on since then. But it was an amazing grounding for my career and really understanding about the dynamics between the right food and wine pairings and how a distributor can really add value to a restaurant and vice versa, and also it really taught me the value of service to customers, and I think that's something that's really just helped grow my career from there.
And tell us a little bit about where you're from. Did you grow up in Durban?
Yes, I did. I moved to Durban when I was 3. I was born in Joburg, and then moved to Durban when I was 3, and we lived in Westville. Went to Westville Girls High, UKZN. I studied marketing and communication in English, it was lovely. You realize when you live overseas that growing up in a place like Durban is really special. There's a lot of issues, sure, but it's also quite protected, and there's nothing too scary happening, and it's quite conservative, and there's a lot lot to be said for that. You don't have to grow up too quickly when you don't want to.
After working in Durban in the wine industry, you then moved to the UK, or where did you go? UK.
Yeah, so we moved to London. So to be honest,
why did you move?
I always wanted to move to London. It was something that we wanted to do for a very long time. And then the recession hit in 2008, 2009. And both my now husband and I had really good jobs, and we were really enjoying our time in Durban. So we just thought we'd kind of keep it on hold and put it on the back burner until such time that it was a better time to go. And then in 2013, I got married, and we thought that it was probably a good time to go in 2014. And I moved to the UK and realized that I was a very small fish in a very big pond. It was very much a bit of a rude awakening, you know. I think when you know everyone knows everyone in Durban, right? Like everyone just, you know, you can't go to the shops without seeing 10 people you know to say hello to and have a coffee with, etc., which is amazing. But the thing about London is that it's very much an anonymous city, and you know, those who in the know have been there for a very long time and are very well established, and so it takes a lot of time to build that up. And so I moved into recruitment, of all things, which was interesting. It was a very sad day to step away from the drinks industry, but I worked in recruitment for drinks and FMCG, a wider FMCG, and it was great. Like, I learned so much about the UK market from doing that. I think if you don't have any direction of where you want to go as a younger person, I would seriously suggest recruitment as a job for a few years, just to find your feet. It gives you a lot of commercial background. You have to understand, you know, about pitching. It helps you with your self-confidence. It helps you with just, you know, not taking no for an answer, which is which is a good skill to have, I think. Yeah. And so I did that for 2 years and met a lot of friends and a lot of good people. But I think that really helped me then move into my role with Australian Vintage in the marketing world, because I didn't want to go into sales. I wanted to go into marketing. And I think being in recruitment helped me just find the tools to be able to do that. So I moved to AVL.
Were they one of your clients?
No. No, but I saw the job advertised and I thought, that's got my name all over it. Yeah. And so there we go. That's the rest of history. Australian Vintage, of those people who don't know who they are, because they have really great brands, but not as well known as a company. They're probably a similar size to Distell or Stellenbosch wineries, if that's. They are the third largest producer in Australia, second to Treasury or third to Treasury and Accolade. Their big wines and big brands in the UK are McGuigan Wines and Tempest 2. They've just launched a drinks arm of the business, so it's a company that has lots of ambition. And it's a really exciting one. There's lots of cool projects working that need to be worked on, and it was a really great company to work in. The people obviously are from far and wide, which was great. It was nice to be in a company that has a nice, diverse, and interesting team. I remember my first day, I looked in the fridge and there were 3 different types of horseradish sauce, and I thought, these are my people. I was there for 6 years, and it was great. We worked on some no trips to Australia, sadly, which is still something that I am a little bit bitter about. But there's some really, really exciting wines, and they were a little bit like cowboys, and I'm sure they don't mind me saying that, but in the fact that you could say, I think that Sainsbury's are looking for a rosé. How quick can we get that done? And within 3 months, we had developed a new rosé, and it was on the shelf. Boom, which was exciting. And to really just be able to launch a product like that in in the space of the time of it shipping from Australia to the UK, having everything ready from a label, packaging point of view was incredible. So yeah, it was really exciting. But then I had my little girl 2 years ago, so I had a year off here, which is, I mean, on a personal level, another really exciting thing about the UK is that you get a year's maternity leave. So it was really nice to have that year at home with her. And then after coming back, the role at Liberty popped up, as they do, and some friends got in touch to say, I think you should try this role. And I did, and yeah, here we are, week one. It is week one, so I'm a bit of. It is. There's lots to still catch up on and learn. But yeah, so from what I've seen, it's amazing. They're an incredible team. Their service is great, and some really exciting brands. They've got some cool South African brands as well. So yeah, it's nice to be in a company that has a little bit more of a diverse portfolio. Especially on the premium side, ABL is very much on the lower end of, not lower end, let's edit that out. On the more approachable side of around, between £6 to £9 is their sweet spot, where we sell champagnes from £400 to, £60 or that sort of thing. So it's nice to be on the premium side.
And is it mainly all wine products?
They have a bit of olive oil as well, and then a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, it's predominantly wine, predominantly Europe. So how the company started, David Gleave started importing wines from France and Australia, and he then has built the team up. And they're 25 years old this year, and we're now just a team of over 200 in the UK. So really exciting growth, especially over what the UK's done in the last 2 years with on-trade being closed. We are largely on-trade based or on-premise based, and they've really shown great resilience to that, and have the teams just keep on building. So
sounds like you're back at VDP, just a lot bigger.
Kind of, yeah. It does. It does feel a lot like that.
What they import, even craft beer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, but they don't manufacture anything. It's all imported or distributed.
Yeah, that's right. So they only. But I do know that they have certain projects of kind of own label wine. So I know they've got a project with Fairview, and the Fairview team make their fair trade label wine. So it'll probably be their house pour wine if somebody wants a South African house pour, and yeah, something that we can offer exclusively.
Okay. Can you share with us the difference or the major differences between working in South Africa and the UK in the drinks industry?
I think everything's a lot more relationship driven in Durban or in South Africa. It seems like everything is, there's a lot of handshake contracts or contracts drawn up on serviettes and long-standing things, where here it seems that everyone's a little bit more commercialized. I remember trying to get wine lists and going, oh no, I'll train your team, no problem. We'll do 3 or 4 training sessions over the space of 6 months, and we'll get everyone ready to go. And I've seen some proposals this week where it's value added, and there's values attached to every single thing that you add as a business to their business. So training sessions have got a value of just say, £200 per session. All of the point of sale, like wine openers, ice buckets, that sort of thing, is all kind of, it's just a little bit more formalized. So, you don't ever walk into something and then something's happened that's not, that you don't know about. It's all kind of, you've got a contract in place, and it's all It's all very proper. But in terms of the people, it's very much the same. I mean, what I have learned is that the wine industry is exceptionally small, wherever you are in the world. Everybody knows somebody's cousin, or I worked with that person, or and no more than I suppose more than UK and South Africa. But I worked with a guy at Australian Vintage who knew somebody that I knew from Kononkorp, and we all hang out together. And I didn't know him in South Africa, but we're good friends now, and we've got a lot of people in common. And it's a small industry, no matter where you are in the world. Is probably what I would say.
And
so use your contacts.
Use your contacts. And to get a job, I mean, as I explained earlier, I think there's a lot of pressure in South Africa. The market hasn't recovered after the severe lockdowns.
Sure.
And I think people are desperate and they're looking overseas. They're looking for opportunities. How easy is it to find a job in the UK?
Provided you have a visa, or you have no need for sponsorship. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that there's a lot of opportunity at the moment. I would work with a good recruiter to try and open up those conversations, but also just using your own network is a great opportunity. Using job boards like the drinks business has a lot of the UK businesses post jobs on drinks business and Harper's, so keep an eye out on that. And I wouldn't say that people are less open to looking at you if you're still in South Africa, provided you're open and honest about your need and your determination to get here. I don't think that would be a problem for people to hire when you're still in South Africa. And also, it's a great sense of security to move over with a job already, depending on your visa or your passport situation.
When you moved, did you have a job?
No. I didn't. But I got one within a week or two.
Okay.
And there's lots of opportunities at the moment.
How has Brexit affected the market?
The B word, don't sweat. It's horrible. It's okay. I think more from a logistic point of view, it's a problem. For a project that I worked on in a previous role was looking at back labels and just the logistics of trying to move stock from a UK warehouse to a European warehouse, to selling wine in a European shop that hasn't come directly from or been bottled in the UK it's trying to understand the legalities behind that and what a label needs to say or doesn't need to say. I think that's probably been the trickiest part, because in terms of the dynamics of it, it is what it is. But I think that both parties just haven't been able to work out what needs to be said. So there's still a lot of teething issues. But for now, I think it's largely sorted. It is what it is, and there's a grace period, and I think there's a few things that are there's a blind eye being turned to a few things, but other than that, it is what it is at the moment, and we are just trying to get past it and get that to be the new normal.
And surely it's affected the job market.
Definitely, and I definitely think that that is a reason for there being a lot of opportunity. Is that a lot of people post-lockdown actually just went back to Europe and said, why am I slogging long hours to not have this lifestyle? And they went back to the European countries and just haven't bothered to come back. It doesn't necessarily, they've made it from a passport and visa point of view, the UK has made it quite easy to stay. there is certain options that you can do to that. Then you can get a British passport, or you can get your residency, and so that part's quite easy to do. I don't think that there's been any issues on that. I think it's more of a lifestyle. So Brexit coupled with lockdown has just meant that there's a lot of exits been happening. And you'll see if you walk around the streets, there's so many notices in windows saying, please send your CV in, looking for bar manager, looking for, especially in the restaurant trade, there's such a need for waitresses and bar staff, or waiters and bar staff at the moment, it's really affected the hospitality industry.
And how bad was lockdown? Was there a liquor lockdown?
No. You can't take the alcohol away from the Brits. I think that would cause a riot.
Well, we tried to do that, yeah.
Yes. We have set up a bit differently, where we can buy our spirits and wine all within a supermarket. So you can go to Sainsbury's or Morrison's or Tesco, and you can do your entire shop. We don't necessarily we have bottle stores, but they tend to be more specialists, like Majestic or Laithwaite's online, for example, and that they seem to have a bit more of a premium selection. So because the supermarkets were kept open and the supermarkets were prioritized, there wasn't any issue with stock. The only thing I would say is that in terms of distribution, alcohol wasn't prioritized when there was when everyone was buying toilet paper and pasta and flour. There were certain priorities on certain products. But yeah, it's been released now, so I can say, but Australian vintage really had great sales because of lockdown, because everyone was buying from supermarkets and not necessarily on restaurants anymore. So they were having drinks at home, and so the only places to buy that were supermarkets. So yeah, we had great sales because of lockdown, and so it was a benefit for us.
And your job now at Liberty Wines, do you want to talk about that a little bit? What does that involve?
So my role with Liberty is now going to be looking at our customers, so our restaurants and specialist wine stores and our grocery channel, and how we can really grow and develop our range within that within those sectors. We've got a job to do to really become number one champagne of choice, either by the glass or within the lists of within the wine lists. I've also got another champagne. It's not just Piper Heidsieck that I look after, but it's another champagne called Rare, and it really is rare. They only make vintages in certain years, so we're just looking at a launch now of launching our new vintage of 2012, it's really exciting. So it's working on campaigns, working on sponsorships with various events. There's a company here called Secret Cinema, which is really an immersive experience into different series and movies. It's a great event if you ever can get to go on. And so we've just wrapped up a Bridgerton event where we were the champagne sponsor, and we are looking to do the next one and see what that looks like with them going forward. Piper Heidsieck has got a great history with the movie and film trade, so it's really trying to understand what our opportunities are in the UK space with that. But then also the nitty-gritty side of it, that's looking at allocations and understanding where we can get best results with the champagnes that we have. Champagne is an infinite resource. It's not an infinite resource. We've got only a certain amount that we can produce and sell on. There is a shortage at the moment, but also the UK market's a really good place for. It's probably one of the top 5 markets for champagne in the world. The Brits do love their bubbles, and so champagne is very much on the rise. Prosecco seems to be flattening out a little bit, and champagne's really getting back on its place in top form. So it's an exciting position. I'm really excited to get stuck in.
And it must be one of the top champagne brands in the world. Where does it fit in?
Yeah, it is one of the grand marks. We have big ambitions for it to be one of the top 5 or top 4. We are independent, so we are family owned, which makes life a bit tricky when you are up against Moët Chandon and the Clicquot, who are very widely distributed and widely known and have amazing budgets to have their own pop-up cafes and that sort of thing. So it's we are fortunate that we are well known, but we've got challenges up against some of the bigger brands, and but I think we're fortunate as we are family owned to have that wide distribution and
Vicky, are there some trends that you are picking up there that might be of interest to South Africans?
Do you know, it's something that what we have been observing, that canned wine is very much a thing that's going to explode here. I think the UK population have been a bit slow to accept it. I know Bruce Jack's doing some great stuff. Their brand is really growing in leaps and bounds and doing some innovative, really exciting things. Like they just seem to be able to turn things on really quickly, which is great. But yeah, seltzers are going to be big, I'd say. Flavored. And no and low is very much a trend that's here to stay.
What is it? No
and low. Yeah, so 0% alcohol wine. While I was at AVL, we launched McGuigan Zero, which is the fastest growing brand in that category. And I think when I left, it was the number 1 alcohol-free still wine brand in the UK, which is huge for a brand that's only been around a year or two. To replace things like Eisenberg and the Fresnay brands is great. So yeah, that category is very much here to stay. Everyone's looking to just the health and wellness side of that is big. We're seeing more and more people that are coming of drinking age not really wanting to drink, wanting to look after their health rather, or even from just or even if they do want to drink, they're just not drinking like they used to. I mean, not in my day, it couldn't. It wasn't the case. Really. But you turned 18 and you went to a nightclub and had a great night. So the no and low category is something that I think is very much here to stay. Another trend, which is an interesting one, and it's a project that I worked on when I was still at AVL. It's a sustainability trend, and actually it's not really fair for me to say that it is a trend because it's actually a need. There is a lot of greenwashing about from lots of brands pretending to be sustainable, and I'm sure they are, but it's a really deep rabbit hole, and I think any brand that can contribute in some way to the drinks industry and being more sustainable, whether that is reusing waste, preserving and conserving energy and using renewable energies, using lighter weight glass, practices within viticulture and viniculture, I think is really important. And the consumer wants to see that. They want to see that you are doing your part as a brand to make to fight toward climate change, and it's becoming more of an expectation, not necessarily a trend. And interestingly, I was doing a bit of market research and chatting to someone, and I said, what would you say is a sustainable brand? And he said, a lot of the South African wines are sustainable, aren't they? And I said, oh, are they? And he said, yeah. I said, what do you think makes them sustainable? And he couldn't really tell me, but because of the fair trade, the work that the South African wine industry has done with fair trade and organic and really just harnessing the power of, natural winemaking, I think collectively the South African wine brands are really benefiting from a sustainable reputation, which is really fantastic. And that's a lot of, I don't know if that was planned, but it's quite enviable of a lot of the wine brands around the world. So sustainability and no and low is probably the biggest trends that I'd see.
Victoria, thank you very much.
And thank you.
It was wonderful catching up again.
Yeah, nice to catch up with you.
Thank you for listening to our stories here online. In the show notes, you will also find a link where you can subscribe to become part of our community and be notified when we upload our latest content.